Good morning, y'all. This is Dana from DAS Financial Aid Consulting Services, providing you today with another show or episode of Let's Talk Financial Aid for College. In this episode, I want to provide the latest updates from the United States Department of Education regarding student loan payment, which goes into effect today. And there's been a lot of chatter in the news about the student loan repayment. And today's the day that it goes in repayment. But there was a lot of focus on the headlines that your wages are going to be garnished. And there were a lot of meltdowns on TikTok by many students that are in debt. So today we're going to focus on that, as well as I will provide you as many updates as I can regarding processing the files for the up-and-coming 2025-2026 award year that begins on July 1st. But first, without further ado, for those of you that may be new to this podcast, my name is Dana Anderson Sharples. I am a financial aid advisor, processor, compliance officer for career and technical schools across the United States. Most of the schools that I service or process files for are cosmetology, business schools, automotive schools, welding schools. I do have a couple of teacher grant schools, which are in the higher education, meaning that they've already got their bachelor's degrees. They've got, they're working on their master's degrees, but they're also getting the teacher certificates. So that's what I do on a daily basis during the week. And then I started the podcast back in 2019. And basically the reason why I wanted to start the podcast was to provide information and clarification to students and their families of college-bound students how this process works. Because as everybody knows, unless you've been living under a rock, in the United States, we have a huge student loan debt problem. And part of the reason why this is such a problem is because back during President Obama's presidency, he decided to move student loans from the private sector and have them going through banks, where banks would basically say, okay, what do you want to go to school for? You want to go to school to be a teacher? Okay, great. Well, this is the amount of money that we can lend to you for you to go to the particular school you're looking at. And if that wasn't enough money, loan money, for them to attend that school, then they would basically make a new plan. They would change the plan of action and find another school that you could get the same education from to become a teacher, but it would be at a more affordable college for you. Well, President Obama changed that and said, okay, the feds are going to take over all of the lending practices. And the problem with that is that there was no ability to pay confirmed. And so it was basically a free-for-all. And the financial aid advisors that were being hired at the time and still are today, some of them don't know how the process works themselves. They just know how to do the process. They don't know why they're doing the process. They just care about getting the files reviewed, processed, and whether or not the money flowing. That's it. And they may not be able to explain how the whole system works. So that's why I decided to start this podcast in 2019 to start helping to provide education to students and their families to understand what they're getting themselves into and get them prepared for their financial aid appointments before they sign on the dotted line and accept loans and start attending class, and then decide this isn't their cup of tea, but now they have all this debt that they're going to be carrying around for the rest of their lives if they don't get a handle on it and get it paid off. Now, we also know that during the change in administrations, that also affects how financial aid works for higher education. And when it came down to the Biden administration just let it be a free-for-all, because all they kept saying was they wanted to forgive student loans so that they could get votes. And they made promises, failed promises after failed promise to students and their families. And then prior to that, we had COVID. And I'm going to tell you right now that what happened during COVID on May 13th, 2020, when President Trump, during his first term, when this happened, President Trump put a stay on the interest accrual payments. And they also said that for a time period because everything was shut down, people were having a hard time making the ends meet because everything was shut down, that they would put you had to make payment arrangements with your loan servicer in order not to end up going into default for non-payment. But you had to make an arrangement during the COVID time frame that they put a stay with your lender in order to get that put in place for you on your account. Now, your account is set up under your Social Security number for your student loans. That's how they originated. That's how we do all the aid. That your Social Security number is your number. I'd like to just take a minute and say hello to Lewis, who has joined me. Thank you, Lewis. I appreciate your support. Everything's going well. And currently what we're discussing is loan repayment and how that goes into effect as today for student loans. So if you go to the studentaid.gov website, on the home page it says, welcome to studentaid.gov. Starting May 5th, 2025, we are resuming collections on defaulted federal student loans. Now, if your loan was in default or is in default, you know it, because you have received all kinds of information from your loan servicers. And what I'm talking about is loans across the board. Whether you're going to school in the United States, you are an eligible student and you received student loans to go to university or college, and you have graduated and you now hold loans, or you haven't graduated, you know, life got in the way of your education, you took a portion of classes, you still have student loan debt out there, and you are currently in the process of having to repay that student loan. That's what is the status today of the discussion, as well as whether or not this is affecting you. So if you haven't made a payment in more than 360 days, your loans may be in default, and you need to log in to your account to figure that out. And it also gives you a link to go learn more about repayment. Now, when it comes to repayment, again, everybody has been given a loan processor, loan servicer once you graduate. So once you graduate, or if you end attending school, you go automatically into repayment status 6 months from the date that you graduate. when it comes to when you drop, if you drop, then that will be information, the date that you drop. You have, I believe it's 30 days. Beyond that, then you end up going into the repayment system, and you will have to have a notification sent to you, and your repayment process will start. If you go back into school, you need to make sure that you maintain the payments that you owe for the current loan debt that you have. Now, there is an option that you could go into deferment while you're attending school. I don't recommend it, because all you're going to be doing is adding to your debt. Okay? So, having said that, when you end up going into repayment status, that loan servicer that is assigned to you, that is who you need to work with on your repayments. Now, when it comes to interest rates are set for every loan that you take out. There's a different interest rate. This is something that I keep hearing about on posts from X and posts on Facebook, that nobody told us about this. Well, again, I'm going to go back to the intro when I said that there are financial aid advisors out there that are assigned to college students that do not know why they're doing the process. They know how to do it, they don't know why they're doing it, and they don't know sometimes any further than what they do. They're just worried about concentrating on getting the files processed, the money requested, the money flowing. That's it. Every student, when they meet with a financial aid advisor, is completing not only the offer, so that the offer that the school is making you, they tell you how much you have in eligibility based on your FAFSA application result. And then they will, when they make that offer to you and you sign and say that you accept the offer, when it comes to financial aid, the whole entire financial aid package has already been processed for you. Loans included, whether you accepted them or not. This is the time that you're going to say, yes, I'm accepting it. And if you accept those loans, you are also obligated to have to complete what they call entrance counseling, to tell that you understand the process. You understand that you're accepting loans. You understand that you're obligated to repay those loans back. And in addition, you are signing a promissory note. Now, if you don't sign a promissory note and you have been a student prior, promissory notes are good for 10 years. They link up to any loan that comes across the system under your Social Security number for 10 years. The aggregate amount that an undergrad student can apply for is up to $57,500. And if you don't have an ability to pay for the first year, $5,500 as a dependent student in loans, you have no business signing up for student loans. Take all the other aid that they're offering you, which are entitlements. You have a Pell Grant, if you have SEOG, Federal Work Study, if any of those are offered to you, institutional scholarships, you can accept all those, but do not accept any loan money unless you have a means to pay it back. Because your next, if you go to a 4-year college, you're looking at the $57,500, which is a ridiculous amount of money with no ability to pay. Because there is no promise that once you graduate with your piece of paper that you are going to get a job in the field that you went to school for. I'm just saying that's reality. You're going to be competing with other individuals that want to do the same exact thing. They went to school like you did to get that piece of paper to go into that field. But sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and you definitely need to have a backup plan. And it is not on anybody else but you to make these decisions. And you need to also remember the decisions that you are making at age 18 will affect you when you are 78 years old if you are lucky to live that long. That is reality. It's nobody else's problem but yours. So, as far as the loans go, again, they're going into repayment today. And this is for the defaulted loans, and there are multiple options for folks with regards to making the repayment plan. This page that's on studentaid.gov for managing loans and repayment 101, you need to understand how much you owe. And it may be a scary figure if you haven't looked at it quite a while, but you need to just do it, figure out the amount you owe, and then start working on the process to repay your loans. Because this money has to be repaid. It will not be discharged in a bankruptcy, and the reason why is because it is federally funded loan money that was accepted by you when you signed the entrance counseling, the promissory note, the award offers, and also exit counseling upon graduation or when you left school to spell out your obligations and what you need to do in order to begin repayment of that money. There are consolidations that are offered, loan consolidations that you can do that will take those interest rates where if you have two loans and you have two separate interest rates, if you consolidate them into one, you're down to one loan. The other thing is that you can always make an extra payment on the principal. And that'll do is reduce your principal amount, and it will also reduce the interest rate amount. Okay? Now, I'm going to give y'all a tip on the way I paid off my student loans. And I can tell you right now, it wasn't easy. When I was going to college, I was working literally 3 jobs at the time I was going to school. So what I did was this. I purchased savings bonds. You can go to treasurydirect.gov, open up an account, and you can purchase savings bonds. You can purchase them in denominations as small as $25 and as large as, I believe, $10,000. If you purchase the I bonds and you purchase the double E bonds, you are limited to $10,000 a year in bonds. You also are limited to the access of these bonds. So when you start purchasing the bonds, you will not be able to have access to them for 1 year. They're locked in for 1 year, okay? At that point, they are also accruing interest. So if every week or every time you got paid, you took a portion of your paycheck, purchased savings bonds, and continually did that for a year, and let's say for $100 a month, you would end up with $1,200 in the savings. That $1,200 can go towards your student loan payment. See what I'm saying? So if beginning this month, if you were to purchase savings bonds, and if you did it every week, then that's $400 a month, right? But if you do it just once a month for $100, then you would be able to have $1,200 in a year from now that you could be applying towards your student loans, and that would just be for your student loans. And remember, you are earning interest on those bonds. So even though you're paying interest on your student loan payment, the government's paying you interest on your bond. Okay? So that is one way you could pay off your student loans. It could take you a while, but at least you're giving yourself a little bit of, a little bit of an account to pay out of. Even if you don't have an account open today, you could still do that and still be in a better position next year with doing that. So that's something to think about. That's how I did it. It took me a while. It took me 10 years to pay off my student loans. And I will tell you that I was very choosy as to the school I picked to attend to invest in myself. And I also picked a career that was certificate. I got a paralegal certificate, paralegal degree. And right now I can tell you that no, I am not working for an attorney. I am working for compliance for the United States Department of Education for the higher education files. That's what I do. And I use my paralegal skills, research skills, and the knowledge that I gained from working in state and local government to start to navigate through the federal government. And that's how I'm able to provide the information to you today on what actually is going on with the system and the government. Going forward, with regards to repaying student loans, you want to be the one that contacts your loan servicer if you're in default status and get this taken care of. You do not want to bury your head in the sand and just let it go by the wayside, because the last resort is yes, your wages will be garnished to get this money back. And no, it's not a cruel practice, because again, you signed up for this obligation, and I will tell you time and time again, just because you were 18 years of age at the time you signed that paperwork, you are an adult. And that paperwork outlines everything with regards to obligation to pay this money back. And also, I can tell you that if you are working, you are an American taxpayer. You pay U.S. federal taxes out of your paycheck, and those taxes, that portion goes to funding the federal government. And it just so happens that one of the items that the federal government funds is federal student loans. And that's why it's important that those loans get paid back. So not only is the money available for the next generation, but it's also something that the next generation doesn't have to worry about paying on, because they haven't even gone to school yet. They haven't even started their careers. Some of them have just entered kindergarten. But yet folks are trying to saddle those poor kindergartners with their student loan obligation. So that is basically what's happening today. Again, I highly recommend that if you are in that situation with the defaulted loan debt, go to studentaid.gov, do what you need to do to get yourself into the system and get things restarted again. People are there to help you. And yes, I understand that they say that there's wait times and when you're trying to call and talk to an actual human being. I understand that, and that's where patience needs to prevail. But on the other hand, again, there are plenty of options out there, and this, again, shouldn't be something that was waited until the last minute to institute. So that's the information I have on that for you today. If you have any questions whatsoever, please make sure that you feel free, email me at danderson@dasfinancialaidconsultingservices.com, and I will be more than happy to help you. Direct you in any way I can with the information. In fact, right now what I'll do is I'll put that link up into the comments to studentaid.gov to help y'all out. And the next thing I wanted to touch on briefly is any updates with regards to the processing for the 25-26 award year. Now, as everybody knows, and it was announced with the executive order from President Trump with regards to shuttering the Department of Education, federal student loans are being moved to Small Business Administration. At this point in time, that is still in the works. There have not been any updates as of yet as to the transition for this. I believe what is going to happen, so that there isn't a huge upheaval with systems and so forth, because as we all know, the federal government systems are quite antiquated, and DOGE right now is doing a great job or the DOGE team members, I should say, are doing a great job of coming in and trying to assist with upgrading without upending the whole entire system. So the system that we have in place right now, the processing system itself, is antiquated. It has been for quite a few years. I've been working in this industry for over 18 years, and nothing has been updated really as far as the system goes, except for when last year the Biden administration, after the 2020 FAFSA Simplification Act was passed and it was implemented under the Biden administration, they subcontracted out the programming, and the programmers had no idea that who they subcontracted, how the system actually ran. So when they tried to rebuild the 2025 FAFSA under the new specifications for the Simplification Act, it ended up being a hot mess. And as we all know, if you were doing this last year, we were lucky if the FAFSAs even got generated. And then once they got generated, there was a whole mess of errors that had to be fixed. And then on top of all that, compliance was not able to be performed because of the fact that nobody was concentrating on getting that portion of the system fixed, where we could verify identity and confirm that we actually processed the verification of the file, meaning that all the information that was entered electronically was actually accurate, because there was a lot of information that couldn't be pulled in from the IRS link or the Social Security Administration to confirm identity, because of everything that was going on with the system itself. Not to mention the fact that we have a bunch of folks in this country illegally that were given Social Security numbers under the Biden-Harris failed administration. And Social Security Administration, the two systems for the Department of Ed and Social Security could not link up and confirm the identity and that they were a legitimate individual. and a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen available to be able to access financial aid. So right now, the system that we have, we're able to process. It's still the antiquated system in processing, and I believe what's going to happen is that it's just going to go under the header of Small Business Administration, and then down the road they're going to update it to a better system. But as we know, every time something is put into place to get started, there's a lot of politics and bureaucracy involved that is preventing the go-ahead. So we'll have to wait and see how this all pans out. But that's where we are right now. There is no processing of files right now for 25-26. We're getting the FAFSAs, the applications in for review, but we cannot process the actual aid. And I looked this morning, and as of right now, there are no updates as to when that will actually be occurring. So as soon as that comes live, I will advise y'all. But for right now, the concentration here is getting those student loans back into repayment. As always, I just want to thank y'all for your support. I greatly appreciate everyone's support over the years in putting this together for you. Know Before You Go has been something that I've been working on. It's a program that I am going to begin teaching soon online. And if you're interested, again, just reach out to me at my email currently, danderson@dasfinancialaidconsultingservices.com. Or you can look me up on X. I'm under DASFA, DASFA 1215 on X. And also, I have a Facebook page for DAS that you can also review. And that's where I post a lot of updates too. For now, I am going to end the podcast, but I greatly, again, appreciate all your support. I'm here to help. And together we'll be able to get through financial aid and understanding how things are working. And hopefully the system will get better as we go on. So I want to wish everybody a great day, great week. And I'll be talking to you soon. Take care.